brother got the Irish. He got the family crest tattooed on his arm. It's just like ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, granted it's a shitty tattoo, but I mean, we're it's fun. But we never were really big about it because we just drank Guinness and Jameson all year round anyway. So I still remember my favorite time with Dad I have a problem with when I say holidays. I almost I want to say St. Patrick's Day, but I'll say Thanksgiving. Or if it's like Christmas, I want to say Valentine's Day. So on one Thanksgiving, aka St. Patrick's Day, there was this Irish pub up on the Marietta Square, outside of Atlanta. And my dad became friends with the owner, and we would go in there, and he would go in there every night, and I would go in there once every couple months, and it was fucking ridiculous. I would sit down and people would come up and they're like, "Oh, are you Pat's kid?" And I was like, "Yeah," and they'd give me hugs, "Oh, your dad's a great man." The bartender came out from behind the bar, gave me a hug, and says, "Your dad's like my father, so we're like brothers," and just poured fucking Jameson. I had to. I'm not kidding. I had to refuse Jameson shots, and I remember the one St. Patrick's Day, I'm 31, so I was probably 24. Dad and I got up there at 9. And started drinking, and dude, I had to leave at 1 in the afternoon and to go take a nap, and this is terrible, but I was fucking plastered, and I'm driving trying to get back to his house, and I just can't, I had to pull over and throw up, and I got back to his house, and then he stayed at the bar the whole time, and I remember waking up just completely hungover. And my girlfriend at the time was mad at me because I wouldn't leave to go back out. And my dad finally made it back to the house at 2 o'clock in the morning, out of his mind, blitz. And I said, "What the fuck, man? What are you doing?" He's like, "It's fine. I could drive if I did this." And he puts his hand over his eye. And he's like, and I mean, he freaked me out. Dude, he talk about having an irresponsible friend who drinks and drives. Motherfucker. My father, role model. So.
Well, Sancha, yes, we'll do that.
Cheers.
Well, welcome. This is the Mind Novelty number 2 podcast, and we've already started. It's St. Patrick's Day. We've already been drinking. It's mid-afternoon. We're gonna drink some more. We've been starting with some beermosas, Lone Star. So shout out! You can't get this beer outside Texas. It's cheap, but it's special. We're still in the Alamo, the basement. We've been working on the acoustics, and can you hear this? Put that back up there.
It was pouring well.
Yeah, that's the Lone Star sound. You can't hear it anymore. So Lone Star brought a whole bunch of cases of beer down here to the basement, and so we're still working with the audio acoustics. The city's really excited about the fact that we're partnering up with this memorial, and so shout out to the Daughters of Texas. It's St. Patrick's Day. It's Irish people. I'm genetically Irish, but I don't even know what that means. This guy is real Irish, John Carroll. He's coming straight out of the ATL, Dirty Bird, South Atlanta. It's a holler at us, John.
Rise up.
Rise up. What's happening in Atlanta these days? Heard you're doing some... Oh, and the thing, John, this is the great thing about John, is that he's a writer, he's a novelist, he's a free thinker, whatever label you want to make up, but he's an awesome dude. He does a lot of readings out there in the ATL, and he's got a little... independently published novel, short stories coming out here in April. So kind of talk about that. But what is this? What are the short stories about?
Well, the book, it's called Slow Burn. It's 14 short stories, and it's technically it's called a chapbook, and it's coming out under Safety.
What's a chapbook?
Chapbook is pretty much it's small press literature. So considering you have your you had your Barnes and I guess you have your Barnes and Nobles, and then you had Borders and whatnot.
Yeah, but fuck all them, right?
Yeah, so it's it's pretty much.
They're basically out of business.
Exactly, and it's kind of like the same thing as the music industry. You can do it on your own. Yeah, you can do it on your own, and you can recoup, or you can do it through the big guy and probably get rejected. And I've always been a fan of doing things on my own. I'm not really big on submitting to these big literary journals because they're kind of pretentious.
Yeah, did you know this guy was Irish? See?
Yeah.
Can you figure that out?
Yeah.
Not into submitting to authority. If you go to mindnovelty.com, I put an article up, and it's a great research article discussing this 1,000-year period in Ireland from about 500 to 1500 where essentially it was a stateless society acting without government. But the whole concept is that individually, I mean, stereotypically, but I think it's in my blood, I think it's in your blood.
Yeah.
You're going to reject this idea that someone else has a right to authority over your life.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy, but I feel like I've always been like that. Do you feel like you've always...
Oh, definitely. I probably at a young age I equated it to punk rock.
Yeah,
being
same
like,
here.
Fuck the man, that kind of thing. And then I realized, I still love punk rock, but as I get older, I don't have blue hair anymore. But it's more ingrained in me. So with that being said, when I started writing probably about 9 years ago, it was one of those things that the idea of being published was really cool. Having your words and articles, whatnot, books, whatnot, just online or put out by somebody else. But I watched a lot of friends go through rejection and whatnot, and I thought, that's not why I do this. I love this, and I don't feel like trying to get the approval of somebody else. Now, granted, with that approval comes bigger and better things, but it was never something that I really enjoyed. So I kind of just took my own time with it, and been writing for a long time, and then just decided I was like, I need to at least do something. And for the most part, I actually wrote this book to give something to my parents that wasn't online, something for friends and family, and it just kind of turned into this kind of a bigger deal than I really had planned, mainly because Safety Third Enterprises, who's releasing the book, who's again, it's a small chapbook press out of Atlanta, Georgia. Matt DeBenedictis, he's the brains behind the whole thing. He decided that I'd had a conversation with him, and he agreed to put it out. But he's such an awesome guy. He's got all this other stuff behind it. We've got a commercial like on YouTube that's going to come out, and really was shopping around with other authors that he's worked with to do blurbs and just to really kind of promote the book, which isn't really what I had in mind, but he's pushed it forward. And then with that going on, my friend Laura Straub, who's also out of Atlanta, she runs Vouched Books. They're out of Indianapolis, but they have an Atlanta chapter. And she came to me one day and said, hey, I want to do your launch reading at the Goat Farm. And the Goat Farm is a really cool kind of an artist complex commune in Atlanta on the west side. And she hosts a lot of amazing readings just in Atlanta. And basically the idea of Vouched Books is to promote small press literature and chapbook presses as well. So the guys that aren't being picked up by Barnes & Noble and sold in those stores. So because there's this huge culture that people don't realize that exists of all these other authors and writers that are out there that are putting out all these different books and chapbooks and things like that.
So you're saying there's art beyond the corporate or
exactly.
sellout.
Totally.
I mean, of course, I think we were talking about this yesterday that, I get selling out.
Yeah.
So I don't really hate on people that sell out because, look, you got to pay the bills, you got to get the skrills, and cash those checks. And so, whatever, man, I don't hate on that kind of success. But at the same time, and we were talking about this as well, is that this idea that if you go that route of whoring yourself out to the giant corporate bullshit, eventually your content's going to get controlled.
Exactly.
And, I mean, how would you feel if someone came to you, they read this is like your expression, what you want to put out there for other people, and they say, no, we don't really like this.
Yeah.
We need to change this up. How about we say this?
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Well, it goes back to like really look at it. The good example is music. So you've got your top 40, which everybody who doesn't think for themselves just listens to, or maybe you do think for yourselves and you want to listen to Miley Cyrus sometimes or whoever else is out there, but you're missing out on so much other great stuff. And I think it's easier to find independent music, but independent literature it's a lot harder to find because it's not as popular yet and people don't know about it. And so you might miss out on some really great stories just because some fucker didn't feel like putting out somebody's book, or it wasn't going to sell well,
Yeah.
So that's the great thing about it is you can, and basically the main thing is in Atlanta right now, that's what's so great about the city and what's going on there, especially in the literary world is, the lit scene is blowing up, and not necessarily for like the Stephen Kings or the David Sedaris, but for the independent people, the little guys. There's a number of just reading series that are out right now you could pretty much go see a reading at least once a week in Atlanta and see quality like writers, like reading their pieces. There's variety shows that kind of stemmed out of that. There's a lot of just different great things happening there. And so for a guy like me who's very independent and kind of fuck you to the man, it's just been a great opportunity to, see my friends grow and do these things. And then, I'm thankful and humbled by the idea that they'll allow me to participate and work with them on some of these different projects.
Yeah, that's awesome. When you're talking about identifying with punk rock, when you're like saying "fuck the man," like I did too for sure, but also to black exploitation from the 70s.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I love the fuck out of Shaft. Just fuck the man and fuck the Cracker Jack.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was kind of awesome for that anti-authority strain. I don't know how many other people identify with that, but I always found that fascinating and kind of made those idols of mine in a certain context. So in your book, like, what are some of the themes you're hitting on then in some of these stories?
When we
so it's all fiction, right?
Yeah, it's I mean, to me, I write. I'm a fiction writer, but in a lot of ways, fiction is just basically like 95% truth, and you fuck with the details about the other 5%. So the majority of the book is fiction. I release as fiction. There is one story in the book that is 100%
so no
true.
different than the news media. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the Fox News of independent lit. It's a fiction book. The themes in it are, originally we sat down last spring and we kind of dicked around for about 6 months, and by we I mean me, because it was really nice in Atlanta and I didn't feel like doing anything. But the themes really were, I pulled out about 7 stories I had written and hadn't really done much with, and they had appeared on another site. I'm just going to plug the shit out of people here. There's a great site called the500.com.
Shout out.
Yeah, which is run by a friend of mine named Winston Ward, another person out of Atlanta doing something, awesome in the lit scene. But, it's a short story community where basically you come in there and there's a prompt each month and you write these stories. So I've been participating with the 500 for about 2 years now, and I ended up pulling out like 7 stories that I had submitted into this community, and I realized that they all had this theme of relationships, and I thought originally that after I finished the book that it was really just kind of like a sad bastard short story collection of breakups and fucked up romantic relationships, and actually Matt DeBenedictis from Safety Third asked me to write some words for some PR stuff he was doing, and I wrote this kind of fucking bullshit manifesto of like about being in relationships that are unhealthy and realizing that it's fucked up, and then you end up ending that, and then there's like this.
Okay, quick question.
Yeah.
What dictates an unhealthy relationship in that context? When you're writing that,
I think for me, I get real down to the root of it in a weird way. It's like kind of like boredom, it's like, or just frustration or
sexual frustration.
Not sexual frustration, but just the it can be, but just the idea that it's like, this is it, and here's the thing, in my opinion,
like you hit some sort of ceiling, you go, oh, this is all I'm going to get from
this. Yeah, it's mainly for settling, and I'm not saying that people in relationships, not everybody settles, and and that's kind of the thing. I think a lot of people, they settle, and they also base their life off of the acceptance of another individual, another human being, and that's kind of the pinnacle of life for them. So in my late 20s, I'm 31 now, but in my late 20s, I was in a relationship like that, and it was a good relationship, but I realized that we both were kind of bored and frustrated, and she dropped the bomb on it, and it ended, and then so I went through this whole process of being like, oh shit, I'm out on my own now, and it was this thing of I realized how codependent I had become through my 20s of just always being in these relationships. So the idea that originally is like, after I put all these stories out, is that it's about someone who's in a relationship, who's unhappy, it ends, they're fucked up, and then the idea of dealing with it. So I wrote this bullshit kind of thing about, fuck this, who needs this kind of stuff. And I realized, I said, I don't even necessarily feel that way. That's almost like the superficial version of what I'm writing about. And then, so, I scrapped that, and I sat down and thought about it. I said, what's really going on in this book here? Because not all those stories are about romantic relationships. And then I realized that what it's really about is connection. all the stories are about relationships, but it could be families, father, son, mother, daughter, that kind of thing, and so the idea was that it was about connection, but mainly what it really stemmed from was the disconnect of those relationships, and then kind of the futile attempts to reconnect, with society, and in a lot of ways the technology pops into my stories about the use of social media to connect, and in a lot of ways we are so connected to each other right now. We've all had friends that we went to third grade with that we're now friends with on Facebook, or you're like, oh,
or some of us purposely avoid ever letting that happen.
But exactly, but they come across your radar, and so what I realize is I am so connected to my friend in third grade now. They see everything that I post, but maybe I haven't had a really good conversation with my best friend who lives a street down in a while, because we text message and then we meet up at loud bars and barely speak to each other because we're just busy getting drunk or being distracted. So that's the big theme in there as well, is really kind of bringing back the idea of connecting on a human level and not being completely inundated by technology where we miss out on the relationships and miss out on life, really.
Well, do you think so? Overall, do you think there's a possibility to use the technology to enhance those connections?
Oh, hell
or
yeah.
do you think that big picture that's a bad thing?
No, I don't. I think there's just a balance. Here, we're doing a podcast.
Yeah, because someone halfway around the world could be listening to you now, and then in April when this book drops, could get it.
Yeah.
Instant.
Yeah, exactly. So my thing is just, and for myself, because hey man, everybody, I'm sitting here with an iPad and an iPhone in front of me that has...
And a beermosa.
Yeah, and a beermosa, I'm taking it back old school, pack of cigarettes. But the idea to me is that there is a balance there, it's great, technology is amazing to use social media, to use Twitter, to do podcasting, but when you're sitting there surrounded by friends and family, people that you love and you need to be connected with, you don't need to be playing Angry Birds on your fucking phone. You need
that's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Did you read this article, Sergey Brin, one of the co-founders of Google, about the Google Glass?
Yeah.
And he was explaining how the Google Glass, like the smartphone, where you can be in the same room with your family, with friends, but you can totally be consumed by this phone in front of you. And how that's kind of emaciating, but with this phone, you take that away. You have these glasses.
Yeah.
Well, your reality is going to be augmented,
but
you can't just disappear.
Yeah.
You're still going to have to look at this person now.
Yeah.
And how that's actually, he argues that that's going to enhance the human connection.
I can see how it potentially could, but at the end of the day, you might be looking through a screen and seeing pop-ups on your left and right, peripherals, and somebody's sitting there telling you that they're in love with you right in front of you, and you're just thinking, hey man, Mind Novelty just posted a new podcast, which is great, but I just think that I feel like there's a time and a place, I feel like we miss out so much because there's so much noise and so much distraction. That's not an original thought, but we've all experienced that, and we've all sat there going, Jesus fucking Christ, I wish I would stop looking at Instagram, and who fucking cares who's liking my picture? It doesn't fucking matter, it's like, and the other thing is, on the other side of that is like, I don't fucking care what you made for breakfast, that's awesome, but you're taking moments that in life that are beautiful and sacred and maybe shared with another person, and you're taking a picture of it and posting it online because you want people to think how cool you are, opposed to just being like, I'm really enjoying this really nice restaurant with my lovely wife or my best friend or my parents, but it's a catch-22,
So the question is then, what does matter? Like, what matters in life?
Honestly, I think it all comes down to relationships and connection. I think that, we've had these conversations. It goes back to ego. You guys talk about that a lot, and I think that your ego comes involved with social media, where it's like, hey, look how cool I am. Look at all the rad shit I'm doing, and we spend so much time like promoting how awesome we are, opposed to just enjoying, nice things in life that we were, allowed to enjoy.
Because you're not promoting any of the shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going, like, every time someone maybe some people, but there's this new, like, phenomenon growing in teens of this concept of Facebook envy.
Yeah.
And so it's where you're looking at your friends and they're only posting the absolute best aspects of their life.
Oh, yeah.
So they go climb this mountain, they go to the beach,
Yeah.
they're in this great relationship, but then when all the shit comes down, that stuff doesn't go up there.
Yeah.
And so all you're doing constantly is seeing this feed of people's, kind of just their 100%. Like, this is as good as it gets.
Yeah, my life is always just awesome.
And then you get envious of it.
Well, there's a funny flip side to that, too. Then you also have the people that are like, man, I'm just really sad.
Yeah.
Man,
I kind of was thinking that.
Yeah, my life sucks. But but you have it, and it's, I think of things like Facebook and whatnot, too. I mean, I'm not very visible in terms of those things. I'll post things, but it's never things that are straight out of my mouth. Look at this quote, look at this picture. These are things that I enjoy. And I try to, like, stay out of that. My life is fucking rad. But, that's the problem, though. I mean, as I say all these things, I'm also a hypocrite because I see these things in myself. I try not to self-project that onto people around me because I know that I'm preaching to the choir that I have a problem with pulling out my phone when there's a lull in a conversation. And you know what? Fuck that. Like, how about the times when there's a lull in a conversation and there's nothing wrong with silence. Silence is beautiful, and I think that we miss out on that when we feel awkward. And so what happens is text messaging and all this shit, we do that so we don't feel awkward. What happened to the good old-fashioned conversation on the phone, it's something like that. And we don't call each other anymore.
And what does it even mean to feel awkward? Like, I know what you're saying, but what is it? Like, what is it to be awkward? And why are we awkward? I feel like why does that feeling exist?
Like not knowing what to do in a situation where there's nothing to say or do. It's almost the equivalent of it's like social media has almost become, or just the ability to pull out your phone and fuck around on it. That's almost like the equivalent to technological small talk. It's like, I don't know what to say, so I'm just going to talk about the weather. It's like, hey, yeah, the weather is fucking beautiful here. So, but opposed to even saying that, you just go inward and you're like, man, let's see what my fucking army's doing on Clash of Clans here. Let's see who's text messaged me. What's going on Twitter right now, because I don't know what to fucking say, and the waitress hasn't brought my beer back yet, so fuck, I'm just going to sit here, So, opposed to just accepting it. It's nice. It's human emotion, who even knows exactly what that awkwardness stems from, but just it's great to feel human, and not to be staring at a screen. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, there was this article I read recently talking about the growth of Twitter tribes.
Oh yeah. And
where people are starting to carve out these groups on Twitter of where they use similar language.
Yeah.
Like they'll misspell all the same words.
Yeah.
Or they write all these certain phrases and hashtags, and slowly they're developing these mini tribes. It's really crazy. And I guess I kind of see that on Twitter too sometimes, whether it's excuse me, we've been drinking. Yeah, I'm still drinking right now.
I'm pouring it up. Okay. Hold on. Here we go. Let's do this. Let's do this here.
Listen.
You're not listening, you're laughing.
Yeah, you're laughing.
There's the Lone Star.
That was powerful. That's Lone Star.
That sounded good. It's not going to sound as cool.
That's going into orange juice. You can't get Lone Star outside of Texas. So go fuck yourself if you want it. Sorry. You got to come to Texas.
Now, isn't Lone Star, it's owned by PBR now, right?
Did PBR buy it? I know PBR bought Pearl.
Okay.
And Pearl's like the traditional San Antonio beer. But, PBR is just the traditional,
shitty beer.
Skinhead, cheap bastard beer.
Exactly.
You can't brew it in your bathtub. You've got to go buy PBR.
It's funny. I'm actually wearing a PBR
shirt
right now.
You're totally representing.
I didn't buy this. Someone gave it to me, and I got a funny story about this. I was maybe I shouldn't even tell this story.
No, you need to tell. Yeah, you need to tell every story.
Let me take one more drink of my Texas PBR. Here.
This is from Pabst Blue Ribbon.
It's not even that good of a story, but so.
Pabst Blue Ribbon, found in grocery stores and convenience stores all across America.
So here's the thing. I don't fucking like PBR. And when I was broke in my early 20s, I remember one time I was like, you know what? I'm going to start drinking PBR because I'm so poor. So this will be a good way I can go to the bar, still have fun, and not break bank. I gained like 5 pounds in a fucking month, dude. And I'm like, I'm a skinny guy, right? So I was like, fuck this. I'm going back to, and here's my upgrade, High Life. You know, I was like, all right, I'm going to drink some fucking High Life. Because that's going to, and strange enough, you know, High Life actually doesn't make me get fat. But so this guy in Atlanta, he's a PBR rep. There's lots of reps around, Camel reps, PBR reps, beer reps, whatever. And they're always just like slinging swag, you know, which is basically just t-shirts and hats and fucking headbands, swag, whatever. And so this dude, I know, he gives me this shirt, and I was like, sweet, it's black, it's got like an orange PBR logo, outline, whatever, it fits. So, you know, I was like, that's cool. And so I was wearing this shirt, and I was seeing this girl, and I forgot that like she used to date the PBR rep, and I went over to her house to fuck her one day, and I was wearing the PBR shirt, and she got real mad and wouldn't fuck me because I was wearing the shirt, and then even like a week later she brought it up again. This girl isn't even my girlfriend, you know. And she's real sweet, and I like her. She's a good girl, but I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, man, it's a fucking free T-shirt. Who gives a shit, you know? Like, why does it matter? So, so I pretty much, this is a vacation shirt now. So now that I'm in Texas, yes. I was like, oh shit. I did my laundry before I left, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna pack that PBR shirt so I can wear it around.
Hell yeah.
And not get shit from bitches.
Yeah. From them bitches.
Just kidding.
Dirty ass hoes.
And when I say bitches, I mean it in the way that Dr. Dre means it. It's a way to make money.
The cool, fun way. Mm-hmm. Well, so there are bitches, but like Ice-T said, sometimes men are bitches ass hoes too.
You don't even want to get me into that, dude.
Let's get you into that.
At the age of 31, you know, never been married, no children, you know, lots of girlfriends and shit like that and whatever. But
you do have a buddy.
Yeah, but I got lots of buddies.
Pitbull, I mean,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
buddy. I got a girlfriend. Her name's Jolene.
Oh yeah, that's right.
She's my pitbull, my little
baby.
Pitbull mix.
Baby.
She's gorgeous. I do everything in my life for her. She's my relationship.
Oh.
So, but I got buddies. What I realized though throughout this is that, you know, there's all these stereotypical talks about women being emotional train wrecks and being bitches and naggy and all this stuff.
Yep.
You know, in my 31 years and in my last 2.5 years of just being single and running around and just partying and drinking and traveling and doing stupid shit, I realized that guys are so much bigger bitches
100%.
than women are. You know,
100%.
You know, as much as I probably seem like I'm sexist, especially by things that I write, I mean, it's very tongue-in-cheek in the things that I say. It's a very Bukowski-esque kind of view. You know, I'm probably just a rip-off of him. But, you know, I realized that, man, women are fucking tough. They are fucking awesome. They work harder than dudes. They are... they're fucking rad. And man, and the thing is one girl freaks out one time at the bar because she's hammered and her boyfriend's hitting on some bitch. You know, I get that, you know, so I respect women and I appreciate them. And I used to actually say before I was single that men and women could never be friends. But, you know, as I get older, the more I realize, I'm like, man, I love me some cool bitches. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Some badass bitches.
Dude, there are.
Hell yeah.
I'll do a shout out real quick for Atlanta. There's actually a reading series talking about that in Atlanta called Bad Bitches.
Yes.
And my friend Jane O'Connor, she runs, it's called Hyde ATL. It's HYDE ATL. She does these really fucking awesome readings in Atlanta. They always have kind of just like very risque themes to them. March 30th at the Star Bar in Atlanta, I'm reading one of them. It's called Desperate Encounters. You know, is going to be the title, and there's going to be probably 6 or 7 readers, which is actually pretty cool because it's to support her chapbook that she's putting out under Safety Third called, I believe it's called When You Meet the Devil, Tip Your Hat. And she's awesome, but she does a reading series every year called Bad Bitches. And it was also hosted at the Star Bar in Atlanta. And I went to this one, they just had it about 2 months ago. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Talk about some bitches who can fucking write. And it was really cool because it wasn't just kept just to writers. There was a comedian, there was some burlesque, and just fucking awesome shit, man. And I just sat around thinking, Jesus Christ, man, these girls are fucking... Bad Bitches was just a great title for it because I just sit there and listen to these girls read this shit, and they're fucking awesome writers, and they're just... I'm thankful to be associated with them because they're so solid.
Well, it's really... I've been kind of on that same perspective for a while now.
Yeah.
And how I always related to media and movies. It's so rare to see this kind of badass bitch that we're talking about in a movie.
Yeah.
Or the news profiling like this badass bitch who's taking care of herself.
Yeah.
Who doesn't need anybody else. She's doing her thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost like society doesn't appreciate that. I mean, like that meme of the submissive female for a lot of people is still out there. Because there's this documentary called This Film Is Not Yet Rated. And it's amazing. It's on Netflix.
It's in my queue.
You have to watch it.
Yeah.
And they discuss how the film board, you take a video clip and it's a woman having sex. Well, if in that clip...
I like it already.
Yes, it is a powerful sexual clip. But if in that clip she's being raped, so she's screaming, she's fighting, but you see the same amount of nudity. So you'll still see the snatch, you see the titties, see everything.
Yeah.
So they cut it like that. If they recut it where she's being pleasured, and she's orgasming, and she is feeling it, and she's getting it really good.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the rape version will be rated R.
Yeah.
The pleasure version, NC-17.
Oh, weird.
Same amount of nudity.
That's fucked up.
And they break this down over the decades.
Yeah.
It is so fucked up because that ties into that very misogynist, like, idea of the man overpowering the woman. Think of the old school movie. The man slapped a bitch.
Yeah.
And then she kissed him.
Yeah.
And then they had sex.
Yeah.
What?
I can't.
What?
That wouldn't fly today. It wouldn't fly today. I mean, I think about just like not even, just saying something, just saying, I mean, but that's media. It's weird because they try to portray women as strong in a certain light, but then when it really comes down to it, they're no. I mean, it's like we're not going to let you get pleasured, but we're gonna let people see you get raped.
Yeah, we'll see you get raped. We'll talk about you getting raped.
Jesus.
But if you have a really great body and you can make money from it, you're a whore.
Yeah.
You're a whore. And I'm thinking, like, this is disgusting. That's gross.
Yeah.
Because, if a man has a great body, can do all kinds of shit and make all kinds of money. In all kinds of ways, just in sports in particular.
Well, it comes, it's funny that, on a day-to-day level, it kind of goes back to that whole idea that, if a guy fucks a bunch of girls, he's awesome.
Yeah.
But, if a girl wants to get some for herself, she's a whore. And it's funny, going back to this, like, knowing a lot of just bad bitches and just having a lot of good friendships with women, I promote that. I'm like, yeah, man, go do that shit.
Get it.
I mean, it's, because if guys can sit around and talk about it and high five and be all fucking assholes about it, like girls should be allowed in the same
absolutely.
Conversation as well. And I just I think that's bullshit. I don't really believe in the idea of being a whore. I call you a whore if you're like cheating on your boyfriend or your husband. Then you're a whore to me.
Yeah.
But if you're single and you're just being responsible and living life and having a good time, man. That's what life's about.
There's a difference, and that's what I always find interesting, that there is a distinct difference between two people making this voluntary agreement.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be together, we're going to be monogamous, and that's what they've agreed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if behind the scenes, then you're fucking people, then you can call either party a whore.
I call you a whore, yeah.
But if there's no, like, voluntary agreement, you're just having a good time.
Yeah.
You're just doing what your body's meant to do.
Yeah, I mean, I never, when it came out, years ago that Wilt Chamberlain had, fucked, 20,000 women.
It's like Genghis Khan of North America.
Yeah, dude, I mean, that guy he just fucked everything that moved. Fucking Magic Johnson with AIDS. I just watched a documentary about, Magic Johnson getting HIV, sorry, I said AIDS, but HIV.
HIV.
He never had AIDS.
And AIDS may not really exist.
Yeah, I mean, they've cured it. But it was so funny, reading about Wilt Chamberlain, watching the documentary about Magic Johnson in his press conference, he's like, or in his book or whatever, he basically says I knew a lot of women, Dude, did you ever hear them called whores or sluts? You know, they were famous. They were stars. They were athletes. You know, they justify the fact that and maybe Wilt Chamberlain slept with 20,000 people. Maybe he didn't, but it's like it's glorified that he's like, you know, it's in like CNN, and they act as though they don't glorify, like, oh, Wilt Chamberlain, you know, reportedly slept with 20,000 women. Dude, you know, if that came out about, like, who's hot right now? Who's a popular female actress?
Who is a
Miley Cyrus.
She's not an actress.
Yeah. Let's
Who's
say
a real actress?
Kate Blanchett. Let's say her.
Blanchett.
Okay, Kate Blanchett has 20,000 lovers in the last 15 years. I mean, it would be like she's a whore, she's a slut. Tabloid magazine. You know, Magic Johnson. I mean, hey, I like Magic Johnson. You know, that sucks that he got HIV. That's pretty shitty. But I'm just like, dude, what the fuck is that? If a female did that, I mean, they would just be fucking run through the gauntlet of just being a whore, and it's fucked up. I didn't realize that we were just gonna have a feminist podcast.
Well, I am a feminist. I love women.
Yeah.
There's this really weird thing, like growing up, the whole concept of male fraternity and the homoeroticism that's built into that. I never liked it.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to see everybody's dicks.
Yeah.
I didn't want that, but there were so many guys that wanted that.
Yeah.
That was their goal. I'm going, I'll be in a room full of women any goddamn day, but all these dicks, I don't want them.
Yeah.
I just don't want them. If you want them, that's cool, but it wasn't supposed to be gay. That was the whole concept.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be macho.
Yeah.
You're a real man because you want to swirl dicks with each other. I'm like, I don't want to swirl dicks with you.
It's a nice facade of a 10-year delay on coming out of the closet.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right.
It's like actually I saw this thing on Mashable.com.
I love Mashable.
Dude, Mashable's so fucking good. And they're not a political thing. They'll post things here and there, but I was really proud of them this morning when I was on Facebook. I got a little feed thing come through, and Mashable popped up, and it was a letter it was like a note that a father had written to his son, and it said basically like, son, I overheard your conversation with your friend about coming out to me and your mother. You know, he said, the only thing that I need from you is to pick up orange juice and bread on your way home from class. I knew you were gay when you were 6, and I've loved you since you were born. P.S. I think you and his friend that he was talking to, he's like, I think me and your mother think you guys make a great couple. And I was just like, I read that and I was like, motherfucker. One, that was awesome.
Wow. 2,
Mashable. I mean, they're a technology website, you know, they technology news. And I just thought that was just fucking amazing. I was like, dude, way to like step up the game, dude, you know? So, I mean, talk about like dudes in the locker room acting gay. It's like, you know, hey dude, if you are gay, just be gay.
Just be gay, man. It's all good.
You don't have to call people faggots and fucking like act like you're not, you know. And women don't have to be belittled. You know what I mean? Just accept who you are and do your thing. You know.
Yeah, so I think it's so weird. It is so weird.
It goes back to like where the ego thing, you know, and people not being honest with themselves. You know, you need to. Honesty is so important, and you know we're talking about this book. You know, it's like a lot of stuff in my book. I feel like it's me being really fucking honest, and my most honest point in the book. It's a story. I'm not gonna tell you what story it is. It's hey, look, me not being honest. It's a story called Trash Talk, and you know I don't want to tell people that, but it's a true encounter of me being the most asshole version of me that I can be regarding women. You know, in terms of like. Just sleeping with women and things like that. And it's, you know, but I wrote it and I thought, you know, do you really want to put this in here? You could just say it's fiction. But I thought, you know what? This is true. I'm going to put this in here because I'm not proud of this, but it is true. And it goes with the theme of what I'm talking about of disconnecting and connecting and disconnecting. And it's, this story is a good version of my futile attempts of connecting through, you know, having sex, you know, because, you know, guys especially single guys can rack up this whole like grocery list idea of like, oh, look at my number, you know, I've banged this many girls or you know, whatever. And at the end of the day, it's all fucking bullshit. It's all ego. It's all like, look at me. And really, you know, the idea of the book is to say, hey man, look at all this, the idea of these like fucked up relationships and whatnot. But at the end of the day, what you really need to care about is loving people, you know, am I hurting people with my actions? You know,
that's it.
Yeah, and I learned a lot. You know, I learned a lot through trying to deal with my own pain of failed relationships by sleeping around a bunch and not treating people with respect and not caring about people. And so in a few of the stories, I actually poke a lot of fun at the idea of guys thinking they're so fucking awesome by womanizing, but showing the flaw in it. It's because at the end of the day, you're still a bastard. You're still alone. You're still unhappy. And I guess honestly, this is maybe just my feminist manifesto here. I'm gonna rebrand the book. I'm not gonna call it Slow Burn. I'm gonna call it Feminista or something.
What burn?
Man, there's a lot coming out here.
Yeah, the whole feminist concept, to me, really at its root, is just the idea of individualism.
Yeah.
A woman, that's just a label. I mean, it's a sexual, a physical, scientific label, but the reality is, in the end, you get to decide what those labels mean for you or don't mean for you.
Yeah.
And as an individual, the only label that really matters is the one you're going to put on yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Not what anyone else puts on you. And so, finding your strength as an individual, to me, is such a powerful concept. And it's probably one of the hardest concepts because it entails, in the end, long run, taking full responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember who said this quote, but the quote was something about how the reason people are scared of freedom is they're scared of the responsibility that comes along with it.
Totally. That's huge.
And so, I could imagine a lot of women over the years, just getting stuck.
Yeah.
Stuck in that cycle of being, I have to be submitted to the people around me, my family, my relationship, and especially coming out of a religious background.
Yeah.
So, if people are listening to this and they're they were raised non-religious or they're a real free thinker type family, they don't understand that at least a third of the American population lives with the belief that a woman should be entirely submissive to a man, because once one individual has some big ass balls and usually a tiny penis, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then they have authority now over this other person. Why do people want this authority? I don't get it.
Well, I think, you're talking about the freedom aspect of it, and, coming from a religious background, as we all are, it's that, we haven't had freedom, you know what I mean? Growing up as a Christian and having that imposed on me. And, and honestly, I don't even chalk it up to my parents. It was self-imposed. I imposed it on myself, at 14 when I decided that I was going to do follow God and do all this stuff. I did that to myself. My parents were kind of like, "Hey, are you sure you want to do this? It's cool,
Wow.
And, it was more self-imposed, but it's interesting now, being free. But that was one of the greatest things to me when I stopped really following organized religion and made a decision just to kind of follow my own path and kind of figure things out for myself, was the idea of responsibility. So no longer can I do something terrible, chalk it up to being a sin or calling it my flesh that wasn't in tune with God. No, and being able to ask for forgiveness. Now I have to say, man, Johnny, you've really fucked this up.
You fucked up.
Yeah, and it's not your flesh, and it's not a sin, and it's not asking God for forgiveness. It's saying, look at the consequences for your actions, and let's go and make this right. And I think when you have that instilled in you, you start making a lot better decisions. And you learn from your mistakes, opposed to just falling into these patterns where you're constantly asking God for forgiveness because you're a sinner saved by grace. You're never going to get any better. You're a sinner saved by grace, and you need God's grace to continue on. You're like fucking Popeye with spinach, man. You can't beat up Bluto unless you got fucking spinach.
Yep.
So it's I need God's grace to be able to overcome this because I can never overcome this on my own. Opposed to saying, you know what, I am an adult. I can see right and wrong and what is good for, and that could be a gray area, but I can see what hurts people and what doesn't, and by changing my actions, I cannot hurt people, so let's go ahead and do that.
That's it, because if you just simply say, for me personally, idealistically, I love the concept of a 100% peaceful, stateless society.
Yeah.
No government, no state, people cooperating peacefully with one another, which is voluntary.
Yeah.
So in other words, like, if everyone just simply agrees to not use force over somebody else's life,
Yeah.
that's all it takes. And so, like, religion's a huge impediment to that, because I had this idea the other day that spirituality is simply religion without the authority.
Yeah.
So, like, you want to talk spirituality? Let's talk, because we can talk psychedelics, we can talk the universe, we can talk crazy shit that no one really can prove right now. And that's cool. Let's talk about it. But when you talk about religion, you start talking about, I have direct access to some sort of specific authority, and now that has given me power to tell you what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
I say, no.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. No. I don't want it to have anything to do with it. And I don't see how that even helps society, like the idea that you need to submit to authority, because all the worst atrocities in human history are simply humans submitting to somebody else's atrocity.
What's funny about that is, they talk about, how they want you to submit, but at the same time, especially in America, we celebrate, resisting.
Yes, this rebellion.
That's
a spirit of rebellion.
Yeah, the 4th of July, man. I mean, it's like we celebrate, like our nation. And what's so funny, I think about this often, people will quote like Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. I'm like, man, if fucking Thomas Jefferson was alive right now, he would fucking be a traitor. He'd be working on his way to destroy the government.
Hell yeah.
I mean, that guy was. I mean, he was considered a traitor, and I mean, all these guys, dude, they were awesome, and they were doing this shit. Say fuck you, England, and they're doing their thing. And I apologize, my vocabulary is losing by each. Mimosa here, beermosa. I'm not doing well, but it's just I look at Thomas Jefferson. I'm like, man, what a fucking amazing guy. And even you bring it back to the religious thing, I love the fact that he created his own Bible.
Yeah,
he went through the Bible and cut out all the shit about miracles and stuff, and put in all the stuff about like loving your neighbor and all that crap, and he put it together as a Bible. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. People are like, oh, our founding fathers. I'm like, this motherfucker cut up the Bible, and y'all like, and here's what's funny, it's ignorance. People have no idea. Most people probably don't even know that he created his own Bible.
Oh, no, they don't.
I mean, they don't know that shit. I mean, the guy, like, didn't he smoke, he smoked opium and did all kinds of weird shit, I mean,
free thinker, I mean that's all you gotta know.
He was like our own fucking Leonardo da Vinci, and people don't even know much about him. They're like, oh, founding father, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
they don't know shit.
Monticello, and if anyone's in the Virginia area or you go visit D.C., you've got to take a side trip and go to see Monticello.
Yeah.
Because, Thomas Jefferson, I always call him TJ, was an inventor, but like a crazy-ass inventor.
Yeah.
Like you said, like a Da Vinci for America.
Yeah.
And I think Ben Franklin was on that kind of same level too.
Oh, definitely,
but Ben Franklin, and TJ as well, I mean, those are some badass pimps.
Yeah.
They knew, I mean, I just have a feeling, that women love to give it up to
I
both
wonder
those
if
guys.
Benjamin Franklin's ever been called a badass pimp before.
Probably.
One of my favorite. Speaking of Benjamin Franklin, one of my favorite things regarding Benjamin Franklin. This is going to sound terrible. Is the drunken history on YouTube? Those guys.
Oh yeah, is that Funny or Die?
I think it is Funny or Die, and
those are great.
Jack Black plays Benjamin Franklin, and the guy, man. I haven't watched those in forever. I need to go back and watch those again. I think they had what was great was during like when Ryan Gosling was like fucking crazy. They had Ryan Gosling on one for when they were doing the reading of The Night Before Christmas, and Ryan Gosling's the actor of like the guy who's like springs from his bed. It's fucking Ryan. It's like Ryan Gosling and like somebody. It's like Jennifer Garner or somebody. It's not Jennifer Garner, but it's somebody big like that. They got to fucking do it. It's awesome.
Yeah, Funny or Die has a Captain Planet video.
Yeah.
With Don Cheadle as playing Captain Planet.
Oh shit.
You haven't seen it?
I haven't.
Oh
no.
Shit! Goddamn, we're gonna have to watch that.
Yeah.
I can't play. I would play it right now and insert it, but I can't. I don't have that technology just yet. It's 2013.
Yeah, we'll have it next year.
Next year.
6 months.
The Alamo doesn't have that set
Now,
up.
Will Ferrell, that's his thing, isn't it? Isn't it Funny or Die?
It seems like it is.
Yeah,
it seems like it is.
Just to kind of circle back to Atlanta, it's pretty cool. It's talking about like rad things that are happening in Atlanta. The last few years, they've just the film industry has just been booming there. Just I believe it's cheaper to do it, and they can replicate a lot of different stuff. So a lot of big movies have been filmed there lately. And it's funny because in L.A. and New York, that's where the tabloids get all their pictures for all these movie stars like out shopping or drinking beer or whatever. And Atlanta is starting to turn into that. It used to be hanging out, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, there's Woody Harrelson. Like, and I played foosball with Woody Harrelson years ago.
Oh, nice.
Because they're in town filming like Zombieland. And one of the
they filmed that in Atlanta.
Yeah, they filmed that in Atlanta.
That's a good movie.
Well, right now they're filming Anchorman 2 in Atlanta.
Wow.
And so now I'm starting to see people taking pictures of like Will Ferrell hanging out. I don't know what movie they were doing, but last summer Owen Wilson was all around town. I saw him twice, and I don't give a fuck, But it's just like, let me just say this right now: Owen Wilson he is so much uglier in person. I mean, that guy, he looks fucked up, dude. That guy's nose. And I like Owen Wilson; he was amazing. But Bottle Rocket was great. I love Bottle Rocket. But that guy's nose is jacked, bro. But yeah, I was happy to see him alive in Atlanta doing stuff. But yeah, we've had a lot of big stars coming through doing big movies, and it's I think my friend hit on Jonah Hill. She got his number.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And I think she could have fucked him, but she didn't. I have no idea why. He came out and hung out with him. We went dancing with Ben Stiller, and it's weird, man. I don't even know.
Where in ATL do you go dancing with Ben Stiller?
You go dancing with Ben Stiller at this really shitty and shady little hipster nightclub called MJQ, which I actually live a block from. I can go to MJQ every night of the week. I don't think they're open every night of the week. I don't even know. But it's underground. It's underneath a bar. And you go in there and it's cash only, and it's just fucking terrible. It's the worst goddamn shit ever. But I have friends who work there and whatnot. But one of the last times I was there, I almost got thrown out because I was making fun of people doing cocaine. And I was... I kept on shouting stuff about cocaine, and the bartender and the door guy made me leave, which I was on my way out anyway because it's just that bad. But it's on there's a mecca where I live. I live on Ponce de Leon in
Hipster
Atlanta.
Mecca.
It's just weird shit mecca. There's hipster things to do with it. But, you've got some good stuff. I mean, you got MJQ. But MJQ, strangely enough, the next room over, they have a nice little venue called the Drunken Unicorn. Has some great, shows, whatnot, smaller bands, whatnot. But then across the street from my house is the Claremont Lounge. Claremont Lounge is where this quote-unquote strippers go to die. It's where you can go in and see a 60-year-old black woman naked crush beer cans with her tits.
Wow.
It's fucking crazy. And,
it's the Thailand of America.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. People always want to go there. So what I see, though, is every, once a week I see pictures on the internet from Claremont Lounge of, dude, fucking Morgan Freeman was there a month ago. Morgan Freeman! Watching titties, crushing beer cans. I mean, what the fuck? So, I mean, and that is a block from MJQ.
So if someone goes to Atlanta, they need to go to this block. What's the block called?
It's Ponce de Leon. It's what's the cross street? I mean,
so you can get your freak on.
Just type in Claremont Lounge.
Lounge.
It's right there next to Ponce City Market, which is the old Sears and Roebuck building. But in a year, it's going to be the biggest shopping attraction in Atlanta. Wow. Yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy. Atlanta's really grown a lot the last 10 years. I think the city officials just started looking around. They're like, hey, we should give a shit about our city. So there's a lot of just rad things going on right now. There's a lot of cool things in music and art and literature, big scenes there. But there's also the Beltline Project, which is it's a 22-mile loop around the city that was a railroad. And a guy named Ryan Gravel, he wrote his thesis at Georgia Tech in 1999 or 2000 about the Beltline and how we could use that as this really cool green space to pave it, put our light rail around it, and actually give our city kind of an infrastructure and bring it in kind of a little more. And here we are, 2013, and it's been approved, and they're working on it. So there's sections of it that have been paved, and there's a lot of just cool stuff going on. Unfortunately, it's gonna be one of those things probably where it's a 25-year project, they're about 7 years in. Unless we get some federal funding, we're not going to see that happen. But it's really transforming Atlanta. I have a feeling that we're going to get some independent donors to throw some money forward, and hopefully see that thing done in the next few years.
Yeah, so I mean, Atlanta seems like a pretty hot spot. I mean, you see a big future?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's one of those things where I've lived in Atlanta since '97, almost going on 16 years now. And I've lived actually in the city for the last 10. And it's one of those things, where it's like, do I stay? Do I stay in Atlanta and kind of like quote unquote be a martyr? That's bullshit. But watch Atlanta grow, or do I move on to a city like Chicago that already has the L and all this rad shit? But it's kind of one of those things. I love Atlanta. I love being there. It's fun to watch it grow, and I almost left it back in December for Chicago, but I thought, you know what, there's just too much good shit going on here right now. I'm going to stick around for a little longer. But yeah, I mean, in 10 years, I mean, that place is going to be, I mean, people already think it's amazing, but, in 10 years, it's going to be insane, especially the growth that you're going to see through the
and the diversity, too.
Yeah,
I mean, because you don't get. I mean, it's not Cracker Jack in Atlanta.
No, it's not. No, it's. I mean, you've got it's everything. It's everybody. Everybody's there, and it's.
That's what I always kind of liked about it.
Yeah, people get along, man. It's. You've got your typical stupid bullshit, people being fucking racist and dumb, but for the most part, man, everybody gets along. Especially being in the deep South, you figure. I don't know if people necessarily consider Atlanta the deep South, but the dirty South. It's there's a lot of different cultures going on there, and people. I think the more the younger people are just starting to celebrate it more. Just enjoying the cultures that are around us and trying to outside of just music and literature and all that kind of shit, but just like food. I mean that's the greatest thing that brings people together. There's so much diverse food that you can eat in Atlanta. So I mean it's a great place. I love living there. I think I'm going to be there a while. So I don't know. Go visit.
Hit up Atlanta. Okay, so you've got the book coming out.
Yeah.
Where can people get information? Where can they connect with you?
I'm gonna have a URL. I think it'll probably be. I'm sure it should be up by the before this thing goes live. It's lifeisasslowburn.com. It's gonna be located there, and that'll probably just be a good base to find anything any kind of writing that I do.
Life
in general.
is a slow burn.
.com. Yeah.
And I know we're trying to pull you into the Twitterverse and get you interacting. I know you haven't interacted in a long time.
Yeah.
But what's your Twitter?
My Twitter handle it's kind of confusing, but it's my name. It's John John, and then Nee Knee, and then Cee Johnny C, but just spelled out almost phonetically. So at Johnny C.
Yeah, I'll put that up.
Yeah, I'll try to. I'm sure
just say hi to people.
I'm sure once the book drops and we get that coming out, it comes out April 17th, and once that drops, I'll be probably posting it everywhere and kind of get things going on with it.
And so, lifeisaslowburn.com, you'll be able to get access to the book.
Yeah.
And is this a for-profit venture? How does that work?
I mean, I paid out of pocket for this thing. I mean, it's one of those things where I just really wanted just to get something out. It was everything I've written for the most part has always been online, so which is great. More people can see it, but this the kind of not rejecting technology, but enjoying reading a book. I don't read books on like my iPad or anything. I buy books still. I go to it's great because people don't really like to read books anymore, so you can buy them used for super cheap. You go to Amazon or just use bookstores. So just have something that you can just tangible that you can hold on to. So
I'm kind of like that. I mean, I'm a super tech geek. I love technology, and I'm so excited about becoming part of the computer's just hive mind and putting chips in my brain. I'll do it all. But I've also got a big ass library of books.
Yeah.
And I love books. I just love physical books.
There's just so much fun behind it. There's so many people that are involved in this process that it's like I got like a fucking team over here. But I do. I have a little team. One of my best friends. He runs a little screen printing company called Squoze Shirts. Or Squoze Design or something that's on Etsy. But he's doing we're screen printing the cover and safety third. We're going to be assembling these things by hand. That's the cool thing about doing something like this DIY. Whereas
Because if you get picked up by somebody big, hey, cool, good for you. But it's kind of the fun thing when you get something like a chapbook. There's a lot of love and care that's gone into it, and you have a real thing that real people put together. So it's cool.
An authentic expression.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're just trying to do here. We're just talking, recording this. We're at our limit now, and I appreciate you celebrating the St. Patrick's Day. I'm honored to have such a real Irish person in my house today. And cheers to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is great. So I really look forward to you. Alamo, shout out, Mind Novelty, number 2 podcast, lifeisaslowburn.com. What? San Antonio out. Peace.
Dirty.